know who needs to hear this, but here are 3 mistakes that you're making the first time you decide to solo travel, maybe after a breakup to Europe. Okay, this is a really common place that people like to go. They have these romantic images of Paris or maybe of Italy and Tuscany and stuff like that. And those are absolutely wonderful places. But here are some things that you should maybe avoid doing and mistakes that I have definitely made in the past so that you don't have to. Okay, the first one is when it comes to packing. Now, one of the things is people will especially pressure you, that if you want to go to Europe, you have to have a backpack. You have to be a backpacker, and that's the only authentic way to do it if you're having a Euro pass and like whatever. Okay, first of all, you don't need to do anything. You need to decide what's right for you. And I will tell you now, as somebody who is 47 years old, I had a backpack for many, many, many years. Now, because of my back, I don't want to have that much weight that I'm carrying around. So I have an Osprey Ozone, and it is, a rolly bag that you kind of pull behind you. It is wonderful. It can expand. It's, it can be, I can buy like a whole bunch of trinkets or whatever taking home. It is very practical. So keep that in mind when people try to pressure you about like, backpacking around Europe, that maybe that's not so good for your back. If you're young, that's awesome, but it's not something that you need to do later. The other thing is, do not bring some giant ass suitcase, because unfortunately a lot of people, and you see these people like in Greece, for example, or like, in Italy, trying to have this huge suitcase. They're trying to go up, the top of a mountain with these cobblestones, on these cobblestone streets with these kind of giant rolly suitcases. And especially when they have more than one, do not be this person. If you're going to go travel by yourself, the first thing you need to do is remember to be practical. So try to have something that's, maybe if you have like one small backpack that, maybe has your laptop or something like that, and then something that you can do for carry-on. That would be the best, and trust me, you will thank me later. The second thing is, do not try to see it all. A lot of people have this, especially I know that, as an American, we do this in the US, like, okay, I'm going to Europe. Okay, Europe is 44 countries, right? So it's like, people tend to kind of bounce around the continent. Like we're just, checking off Rome and checking off Paris and checking off Vienna and stuff like that. And remember that sometimes less is more. And I know that the first time you get so excited about being able to go and see these places that you tend to overdo it. And I know the first time when I went to Europe on a backpacking trip when I was 18 years old, we had a Euro pass and we did 11 countries in 1 month. Okay, that's just crazy. Nobody needs to do that. We had about 5 days per country. Most of the time was spent on a train. It was not very well organized. If you can, maybe just pick one country and try to see places. Or, if you're, for example, in like the DACH region, which is like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, there are some places that are closer to Munich where you can go to Switzerland for 3 hours, 3 hours away, or you can go to Vienna, which is around 4 or 5. I mean, that's the kind of thing where you can combine different countries. But in general, keep in mind that, like, especially after a breakup, you want to nurture yourself. You don't need to push yourself so hard to do and see it all. Okay? And the third thing is always make sure that you have money available in different forms. The other thing is people will tell you never, ever, ever change money at the airport. And I say bullshit, okay? And I will tell you why. If you are a female who is traveling by herself, I always have a few hundred euros or a few $100s, depending on where I'm going, that I could change, in an emergency or something like that. And of course, having a credit card is good for emergencies, or having a bank card, or a debit card that has a certain amount of money on there, so that you have, $1,000 for your trip or something, and you just use that card for that. Okay, but the important thing is, I don't think that you should leave the airport without any money. Okay, people will, say that you should never do that because the rates are bad. Yes, that's true. The rates are horrible. So you should never change all of your money at the airport. However, I always have enough money on me that I could at least, if I always have my accommodation booked in advance, but so that, if I have not paid that already with a card or something like that, that I can go ahead and pay my accommodation and have enough for like food and transportation for like, 1 or 2 days. And once I'm actually in town, then I can find another place to, responsibly change my money at a better rate. But do not leave without it, because I will tell you what happens when you do that. I arrived to Zanzibar at around, I think it was 8:30 or 9 p.m. At night. I had US dollars on me because in Zanzibar you can use US dollars to pay for things. However, when I arrived, I was exhausted after like a 30-hour flight. I got a a good deal, but I ended up going Munich to Dubai, and then Dubai is Dar es Salaam to Stone Town. And the thing is that like I saw a money changing place, and I was just like, no, I'm tired. Like I'll do it later. The rate was really bad, so I said to myself, okay, fine, I'll deal with this later. So I got back to my hotel, unfortunately, or it was my hostel actually, and there were no money changing places around there nearby. Okay, and that's something that you should also always check. But the problem is that now I had no local money, no local currency, and I was tired and exhausted, and I didn't have the energy to go around like trying to look for money, also like change, several $100s or something like that. So I ended up being so tired, I just stayed and slept I just slept that night. And the next morning I ended up going around the corner. There was like a Hilton hotel or something, and I was like, okay, fine, I can pay with my card, and then I'll figure out where I am, use the internet and stuff like that. Didn't have a local SIM card. Just don't get into the situation. There are many mistakes I've made over the years, but that is one of them. Make sure that you have some money at least for food and for getting outside of the airport. Yes, the rate will be bad. Yes, they will try to rip you off, so don't change lots of money, but have some form of money on you, okay? And not in a card, because of course not all places take cards, or if they do, it will be the very, very expensive places. So if you are on a budget, that's not going to work. So anyway, if you enjoy these kind of real tips and real talk, then go ahead and give me a like and a follow, please, and stay tuned for my next video. See you later.